Today I'll be teaching triads. There are 4 different types of triads: major, minor, augmented, and diminished. And each of these types have their own pattern. Okay? So for a major triad, the pattern is 4 semitones and 3 semitones. For a minor triad, you flip-flop, and it's 3 semitones and 4 semitones. For an augmented triad, what do you think it is? What do you think the semitones are for augmented? We've got 4 and 3 and 4 and 3 and 4. They're all 4s and 3s. 4 and 4. So an augmented is 4 and 4, and a diminished is 3 and 3. Good, because you want smaller patterns of semitones. So by using those patterns, you can create any triad starting anywhere on the keyboard. Okay? So for example, if I start right here on C sharp and I want to create an augmented triad, I count 4 semitones. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I count another 4 semitones. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is my augmented triad. So C sharp, F, or I guess in this case it would be D flat, F, and A would create an augmented triad. And this augmented triad sounds like this. Volume. Lovely, isn't it? That is an augmented triad. Okay? If I wanted a diminished triad, I just use my diminished pattern starting on any note. So I'm going to start on this note here. It's either B flat or A sharp. How many semitones do I go first? 1, 2, 3. And then 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here we have A sharp, C sharp, and E. A sharp, C sharp, and E. Here's a diminished triad. Sounds like a train. Okay? To create a major triad, where do you want to start? Pick a note, Claudia. E. Okay? So first I'm going to go how many semitones? 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3. So I have E, G sharp, and B. Sounds like this. Ah, there's a nice triad. Okay, and finally a minor triad. We'll build one of those. What note do you want to start on, Russell? E sharp. Okay, right here. And first we're going to go how many semitones? 1, 2, 3. And then 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember when you're counting semitones that you're counting movement, not notes. Okay, so every time you move, that's 1. Move, it's 2. Okay, so here's a nice minor triad starting on E sharp. Okay, so you can literally build any triad using that pattern. Okay, so what do those triads look like on the staff? The biggest thing with a triad is you're using 3 notes, but those 3 notes need to be every other note in your musical alphabet. Okay? So if you start on A, you're going to be using an A, C, and a E. A, C, and E. Okay? They have to be A, C, and E. You don't want to do A, C, and F flat, right? Like, you want to make sure that you're using every other note as a triad, because when you write it on your staff, it should look like a snowman. Okay, these are the snowmen. Okay, so what note do you want to start on? Taylor?
A.
A. What kind of a triad are we writing? Minor, major, augmented, or diminished? Ariel? Minor. Treble clef or bass clef, Rachel? Okay. So treble clef, we are doing an A minor triad. So on the staff, we're going to start on A and build a snowman. There's my snowman. I usually draw a hat and arms and stuff, but since we're seniors now, I guess we shouldn't, right? Okay. Okay, so what are the semitones for a minor triad? 3 and 4. Okay, so we're going to start on A. 1, 2, 3. And then 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have A, C, and E. A, C, and E. Do any of those need a sharp or a flat or anything? No. Okay, let's do another one. Zane, what note you want to start on?
E.
E, major or minor? Or augmented or diminished?
Minor.
Minor. So we're going to do E minor. So here's E. You build a snowman. Starting on E, I'll change my color so we don't get confused. I know all of you really needed that change. Okay, so there's E. So again, we're doing 3 semitones first, right? So 1, 2, 3. And then we're doing what? 1, 2, 3, 4. Do we need any sharps or flats? No. Okay. Next triad. Let's do something different. So anything but minor. Russell. Okay, so we're going to do D diminished. So we're going to start on D. This one in periwinkle. Did you know that color is called periwinkle? It's my favorite color. That's why I know it's called periwinkle. Okay, so we're going to start on D. Use this D. Build our snowman. So what are our semitones for diminished? 3 and 3. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we have D and F are natural. What is our A? Flat. Okay, that's where it becomes tricky when you're using the keyboard, because we know that that top note is an A. So you look on your keyboard, this note here, is it a flat or is it a sharp? Well, if we're going from A, then it's flat. So you add your flat in, bar line, done. Okay? So just be very cognizant of what notes you're actually labeling when you're looking at your keyboard, because we have those enharmonic notes, it makes it a little trickier. Let's try one like really ugly one. How about, we'll start on this note, but we're going to call it E sharp. So E, G, and B. What kind of triad do you want to do? Major, minor, diminished, augmented. Let's do augmented. We haven't done augmented yet. Okay, so we're doing E sharp augmented. Okay, so this could get really ugly. Here we go. So what are my semitones? 4 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just going to pretend there's a key there. There we go. Okay, so the first note is E what? E sharp. The second note is what kind of G?
G natural. G double sharp.
G double sharp, because it's actually sitting on an A.
Oh.
See, that messes you up, eh? That's why I said this is going to be ugly. So that note, it looks like an A on the keyboard, but it has to be some kind of a G. So if it has to be labeled as a G, then that would be G double sharp. Now the top note has to be labeled as some kind of a B. So what kind of a B is that? Because this is our normal B. So what kind of a B is it if we get all the way to that? Yeah, so it's also B double sharp. Now that is a triad that you could never do with a key signature. Okay? That is only something you could ever figure out using a keyboard and patterns. Okay? Any questions about this? No? So far so good? if you were asked to write a triad using a key signature, it's still not a crazy endeavor. It's not hard to do, but you have to know your key signatures. So everybody get your key signature charts so you can tell me your key signatures. We'll do some in the bass clef this time, okay? So I am going to do a E major triad. So what is the key signature for E major? 4 sharps. So Father, Charles goes down. And what note am I going to start on? E. So where is E in the bass clef? Should I do a really low one? No, I'll do up here. And then you build a snowman. And that's it. You're done. Okay, so you put your key signature in, draw your snowman, done.
Snowman starts with the key signature starts. Like E.
In E major, you start on E.
It starts with the, okay.
Yeah, you always start on the name of the key for a tonic triad. Okay, these are all tonic triads that we're doing right now. Okay, in the treble clef, we are going to do a minor key. So we'll do the key of F minor. So what's in the key signature of F minor? 4 flats. Battle, ends, and down. What note do we start on for F minor? F. Build a snowman. Done. Okay? Now, what if you wanted to write a diminished triad? So I'm going to take this same F minor, but now I want to be diminished. How would I make that happen? Because we know that in a minor triad, we have 3 semitones on the bottom and 4 semitones on the top. And in diminished, we want to be 3 and 3.
The top note would be a flat note.
Good. You've got to lower the top note. So I'm going to take the same triad. I'm going to take out my double bar line. Oopsies. Because I want to keep the same key signature. Okay, so my key signature still holds true. So there's my triad. And I need to lower the top note by 1 semitone to make this triad diminished. So right now, that top note is what? C natural. So I would lower it to C flat. There you go. Now that is diminished. And same goes for major. If you wanted to create a augmented triad, the best plan of attack for that is to start with your major key signature. And the major triad has 4 semitones on the bottom, 3 semitones on top. Augmented has 4 on the top. So what do I need to do to the top note to make it augmented?
Raise it.
Raise it. So same thing, I'm going to write this exact same triad. What is the current top note? We're in the bass clef, remember?
B.
B natural. So how do I raise a B natural? B sharp. And now that is an augmented triad. Okay, so when you're using key signatures, you'd want to use your minor key signature to get to a diminished and a major key signature to get to augmented. I mean, accidentals will help you do everything, right? So if you had a minor key signature and they gave you a minor triad and said, we would like this to be an augmented triad, you could do it. You just have to check your semitones and fiddle around with your accidentals. Okay? But it's nice that you know the pattern on the keyboard, because if you start with that keyboard, you can figure anything out. Okay? It's a really useful tool. Any questions so far? No? Okay, good. We have 3 triads, which they call the essential triads in a scale. And it's because those 3 triads are used when you get into cadences and such. I mean, we use other triads in cadences, but the main ones that we use all the time are 1, 4, and 5. Does anybody know what the technical terms for those triads are?
Tonic, subdominant,
Good. Tonic, subdominant, and dominant. So the tonic triad always starts on the first degree of the scale. Those are the ones that we were just drawing. The other triads start, pardon?
Subdominant's the last one, right? And then
No, subdominant is 4, and dominant is 5. Okay? So if I just wrote the degrees of the scale, 6, 7, 8. This is tonic. This is subdominant. And this is dominant. Okay? So those are the most important triads in your scale. Okay? So if I'm in a certain key, those are the 4 triads that are very often used. There's tonic. Think of this song. You know what song that is? I can't do the pattern and sing at the same time. Anyway, we use those triads very, very often as a progression in music. There's like 500 songs you could play with just those 3 chords. Okay, those are like when people learn to play the guitar, they learn to play 3 chords that are the tonic, the subdominant, and the dominant of a key, and you can play a bazillion songs, right, Russell? In fact, when Russell performed yesterday, he was really only using 3 chords. Did you notice that? No, I'm lying. He didn't because he's really good. But if you were a bad guitar player, like me, you just use 3 chords. Okay, so those are the 3 most important. So if we are in the key of, pick a key. F sharp. Pick a nicer key than that. We're starting here. It's the first example. Holy. Okay, so we are in E major, and we want to write out those 3 lovely chords. So we want the tonic. That's the Roman numeral for tonic. And then we want the subdominant. There's our Roman numeral for subdominant. And the dominant in that key. Okay, so first of all, what's our key signature for E major? 4 sharps. Good. Father, Charles, goes down. Good. So since we're in E major, what would the tonic triad start on? E. So there's E. Build a snowman. Yay. So in E major, what would the subdominant triad start on?
Second space.
Second space, what is that note?
A.
A. So again, in music, you can use your fingers to count. E, F, G, A. The 4th note. Always include the bottom note in your count. So E is 1, D is 2, F is 3. No. E, F, G is 3, A is 4. Okay, so start on A, build a snowman. There's your subdominant chord. What would the dominant chord start on? B. Here's my B. And you build your chord or triad. A chord and a triad are the exact same thing. I shouldn't switch through my terminology there, but so you build a triad, build your snowman. Okay? Now, when you do this in a minor key, pick a minor key. Alyssa. C minor. When you do this in a minor key, you have to watch because in minor keys you always want to raise the 7th. Okay? So, what's the key signature for C minor?
3 bucks.
Okay, so battle, ends, and. So we want our tonic, subdominant, and dominant. So our tonic is going to start on what note? C. Build a snowman, there's our triad. The subdominant is going to start on C, D, E, F. And build your triad, build your snowman, and the dominant starts on what? G. And then you build your snowman. Okay? So where is the 7th note in C? You can figure that out either by starting on C and counting up or going backwards 1.
Oh, no, sorry.
What's before C?
Oh my god, I'm so off.
B. So we need to raise the B. Right now the B is flat. How do I raise a flat? Raise it. We're raising a flat. Natural. Good. that B needs to be natural. You're always going to find the 7th note in the middle of the dominant triad. Okay, that was just not just a fluke this time. Every time you do that, if you're doing a dominant triad in a minor key, the 7th note will be in the middle of it. Okay? Any questions? No? You're good? Okay, moving on. You also need to know how to invert your triads. A triad can be written in any order. Okay? The way I usually like to explain it is it's like the game Jenga. You take a note from the bottom and you put it on top. Okay? So we're going to take a triad, and we're going to use accidentals for this triad instead of a key signature. So what triad would you like to write? B flat? Okay. Major or minor? So B flat, major. So we're going to start on B. We're going to use a low B because we're going to be doing all these inversions. So I'm going to start down here and build my snowman. Which of these notes should be flat in B flat major? The B should be flat. Good. And that's it. Okay. Alrighty. So this is what we call a tonic root position triad. It is in root position. This is its original position. So it sounds like this. Okay, those are my 3 notes. Now what happens with inversions is you take the note from the bottom and you put it on top. It's still a B, or it's still a B flat, sorry. It's still a B flat, but you take it and you put it on top and now it sounds like this. Hear the difference? Here's root, first inversion. So by first inversion, they're just saying you've inverted it 1 time. And then you take the note from the bottom and you put it on top to create the second inversion. Hear the difference? It's still the exact same 3 notes. Root position, first inversion, second inversion. If I invert it another time, it's not called third inversion because it goes back to root position. Okay, it's still the exact same triad in root position, but higher. First inversion, second inversion, and back to root. Okay? So what that looks like on paper is I take that B flat and I put it on top, just like Jenga, but it is still a B flat. The other notes stay the same. Okay? And that is called first inversion. Or if you're using Roman numerals, you would call it a 1-6. Does anybody know why you'd call that a 1-6? Think of the space between the bottom and the top notes now. Yeah, so it's a 6th away. So the bottom note to the top note is now a 6th. In root position, what's the interval? A 5th. So sometimes people will call root position, they'll say it's a 1, 5, 3. Because the notes are a 3rd above and a 5th above. So in first inversion, now they're a 3rd above and a 6th above. And now if I take the note from the bottom and I put it on top, it ends up here. It is still a D. It was a D on the bottom and it's a D on top. The other 2 notes stay the same. And that is called a 1-6. What's the bottom note or bottom number? 4. Okay, so the distance from our new bottom note to our middle note is a 4th, and from the bottom note to the top note is a 6th. The 1 is still telling us that it is a tonic triad. Okay, so originally we started with B flat being the first note of the scale. So the 1 signifies the tonic triad. The numbers tell you how far apart the notes are. Okay? We also call this last one second inversion. Because we're musicians, you wouldn't want to just have one name for something. That'd be crazy. They've got to confuse you. Okay? So those are your inversions. I'm going to do another example of that without all the lines. What do you want to do for your next example? Somebody pick a triad, maybe a minor one, because we just did that one major. Anyone? Pick a minor triad.
D minor.
D minor. Okay, we're going to do this one in the bass clef since we did the last one in the treble clef. So, would you like to use a key signature or accidentals?
It actually doesn't move.
Okay, we'll use a key signature. We did the last one with accidentals. So, what's in the key signature of D minor? 1 flat. So, B flat. There we go. Sorry, my D is so ugly. Okay, so we have our B flat. So, for a tonic triad, what note are we going to start on? Good. So, we'll use this D. Oh, we'll go low. There's D. And then we build our snowman. So in Roman numerals, we're going to call that a 1. Okay? Because they've short formed it, they don't put all those numbers in. I just wanted to show you all the numbers so you understand why they're there. Okay? So now I'm going to take the note from the bottom and I'm going to put it on top. So this bottom D is going to go up to high D. The other 2 notes stay the same. And what am I going to call that? A tonic, and what number do I put to show the inversion? 6, good, because now we've got a 6th between the bottom note and the top note. So now they only write the numbers in to show the change. So that's different. The first one, yes, we know it's 5/3, you don't have to write it in. The second one, now all of a sudden we have a 6th instead of a 5th. So they've shown that change. Now what am I going to do? Take the bottom note and you put it on top. So this bottom note right now is a F. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it on top. And the other 2 notes stay in the same spots. And what would I use as a Roman numeral to signify that? Is it still a tonic? 1, 6, 4. Good. 1, 6, 4. And what's this first chord called? What word do we use for that? Root. And then first inversion and second inversion. Oopsies. Inversion. There you go. Now again, as I said, if I took that one step further, take the note from the bottom and you put it on top, I'd be back. Wait, I think I need to do stylus. This one's very clumsy. There we go. Now we're back in root position. See that? It looks just like a snowman starting on D. So it brings it full circle right back. Okay? Now, if I asked for a well, somebody pick a key. Any key. G. Okay. So we're going to do G major, and I want it to be dominant. Okay. So we're going to do a dominant G major chord. So what note am I going to start? Oh, well, let's use our key signature first. What's the key signature for G major? 1 sharp. Okay, so we'll get that in. That's done. Okay. So what note are we going to start on if we're doing a dominant in G major? G. What was it?
D.
D. Did everybody get to D? Do you know how to get to D? G? Because dominant means 5, right? So you count on your fingers. G, A, B, C, D. So D is the 5th note. Okay, does everybody understand that? Because that's really important. So to get to the dominant, you've got to count to 5. G, A, B, C, D. So we're going to start this one on D. And other than that, the process is exactly the same. You take the note from the bottom and you put it on top. You take the note from the bottom and you put it on top. And then again, if you wanted to invert it right back to that root position, there you go. So what's this first one called? What's the Roman numeral we would use? Yeah. V, because it's a dominant. And this symbol means 5. Okay, so that's a dominant triad. What would the Roman numeral be for the next one? 5, 6. And what about the next one? 5, 6, 4. Good. And then you go right back to your root position. So what's the first one called? Root. The next one's called first inversion. The next one's called, and the last one is root. Okay? So this is why they like to have both systems, because the only system that distinguishes whether you're writing a tonic triad or a subdominant triad or a dominant triad is the system with the Roman numerals, because that's telling you all of this whole set of triads, it is all dominant to G major. In G major, we're starting on the 5th note, not the tonic. Okay? Any questions? I was also supposed to teach you 7th chords, but I think I will wait because this is a lot of information. Okay? So yeah.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.